The special school board meeting is now reconvened. May I have a motion and a second on item 1, proposed new job descriptions for the general counsel division?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Zeman, second by Ms. Bowman. It is moved and seconded to move item 1 to the floor. Is there public comment on item 1?
No, ma'am.
Board debate? Dr. Zeman?
I just have a question. I wonder, Ms. Dupuy, Bruno, if you could give us a little bit more of the motivation that caused you to do this. I feel very, very good about this item. I feel great about having you.
Thank you, Dr.
Really,
Zeman.
really think you've made and will make Broward County Schools a better place by being here. But I wondered if you could give us a minute or two about the background of these actions, because they all make sense. They actually save us money. Mm-hmm. You know, we're used to new people coming here and saying, "Oh, Mike, you want me to do 40% more work? I need 40% more money to hire more people to get more work done." And you've recognized that there's a backlog at the Office of General Counsel. There's a staff there, but not all the positions are filled, and you're asking to jigger them a little bit, which makes great sense to me as I read it. But I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about the motivation that caused you to bring this particular solution to us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Seaman. I've had an opportunity to watch all of your board meetings since December and have heard some of the conversations and the concerns that the board has brought forward with regards to contracts and moving them forward through the system. I've had an opportunity to speak with our interim general counsel, Kathleen Jack Adams, who did an excellent job with onboarding me and making me prepared and being able to address things right at the get-go. I've also had some discussions with our chair and the administration, Dr. Hepburn. So based on all of that, I do feel that there is an urgency to try to see what we can do to shore up legal as much as possible. The board had approved 12 attorney positions for the legal department, which is comparable to some of our other sister districts in terms of the need. Out of those 12, we have 5 vacancies right now. We also have 2 clerk specialist vacancies. All of that puts additional strain on legal because we are not operating at full capacity. We're operating under 60%. That naturally has some bottlenecks, that naturally will cause some delays, and more importantly, it can put the district at risk when we are not fully staffed. In addition to that, I do think that a process or having some individuals who have significant background with the contract process would be helpful to the district. Having some support staff that is a little bit more familiar with legal operations will also help the district. So that's why I'm bringing forward these 2 job descriptions. One is for a senior paralegal who is a contract administrator. That individual will be responsible for the life cycle of contracts within the legal department from the time it comes in through our intake process all the way through when it is signed. We are also going to combine that person with a new software called Concord, which is a contract life management software. And between that person, plus we have somebody else in the office that actually also works with contracts. Between those 2 individuals plus Concord, I think it's going to help significantly with the process and moving the contracts forward. Right now we have 66 contracts that are in the queue, plus others that just need to be finalized. And we are going into our high contract season. So that's my concern and why I want to move quickly to try to get these individuals in place to help shore up legal. The legal operations administrator is important. It's a position to help the department with workflows, processes, assistance with the administration of the legal department. And most firms will have a firm administrator. I know that a lot of other large districts have people in those same 2 positions to be able to provide some assistance to the legal team and make us stronger.
Terrific. And I appreciate your diagnostics, and it's very consistent with what I've seen on the board just over the last 3 years. And the solution matches the exact way that you've diagnosed it. The tool that you're buying is the name, again, if you don't mind?
Concord.
Concord. And I've heard about Concord. It's a traditional, long-standing program used by lawyers and paralegals and law firms, which is great. I'm also, my own assessment is that there's an opportunity to use AI better. And, there's certainly lawyers out there in the field that have experienced 5x improvements in speed to getting to things by using some pretty basic AI tools. I hope that you can think about that as well. It's not just a backup in the 66 contracts, though. It's really, kind of the cohesion of the group, make sure it has the right skills, it has the agility to kind of flex and do things well. But I was very excited in our conversation yesterday about your approach to what the General Counsel can do for School Board of Broward County. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Seaman. If I can add, we currently have Westlaw as our legal platform for research. One other thing that we're going to add to your point is to include some AI functions in there. There's a portion of Westlaw that's called Co-Counsel that you can add to your subscription, and that is an AI feature. So it has helped me when I was in Lee County, and so I'm hoping that it will help our team to be able to process, research, and go a little faster with the assistance of the specific legal AI.
Ms. Hickson?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just wanted to welcome the new General Counsel, Ms. Dupuy-Bruno. Really appreciate that you came in boots on the ground running and looking at solutions to try to resolve some of the issues that we've been having, and bless you for watching all of those meetings since December. Really appreciate that. Also would like to thank Ms. Jacques Adams for stepping in and holding the fort down until you were able to get here. So really appreciate the change in how the office is going to be run, and I think these two positions make sense. We really need someone to follow those contracts from beginning to end. It's something I've been asking for a while, so I do really appreciate that you're bringing this item forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hickson.
Thank you. Mr. Cervera?
Thank you, Chair. First off, I would also like to welcome Ms. Dupuy-Bruno to your new spot. How does it feel in the chair? Is it comfy up there?
Well, comfortable and hot. It's
Okay.
a hot seat, but comfortable. Thank you.
Well, welcome, and certainly, Ms. Jack Adams, thank you for your role in the interim space, and for your service provided to the board during these last few months. I have a question regarding the org chart, and perhaps just some clarification when compared to the executive summary. The org chart, it appears that you are eliminating an assistant general counsel position, going from 8 to 7, right?
Yes.
And when you look at the executive summary, we're talking about elimination of 2 vacant positions in the general counsel's office. Was that meant to be elimination of 2 attorneys, or 2 staff positions, or 1 and 1, or what are the specific, for the benefit of the public, there's 2 specific positions that are being eliminated from the Office of General Counsel?
So there are 2 positions. One of them is an attorney position. That's why you see the 8 to 7. And the other one is a clerk specialist B position, which normally is not part of the organizational chart, those types of support staff. So the combination of those 2 positions will fund the administrator legal operations and senior legal, paralegal contract administrator position.
So would you classify that effectively as a wash then?
Oh, that's more than a wash. I mean, there's a savings of about $22,000 by moving forward with this.
And that's obviously a great thing in a district like ours, right? To be able to save money. So I appreciate the efforts and the explanation. In closing, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm not as enthusiastic as Dr. Zeman is with the AI stuff, especially in the legal field. I will tell you, in a lot of districts now, you are having to put in disclaimers and any type of filings that you make in court, indicating whether or not that you've used AI. Now, someone like me who's very non-tech savvy, perhaps I'm doing something wrong. But even when I toy around with the AI stuff in the legal space, I always seem to be given cases that, for whatever reason, they either don't exist or they don't stand for the proposition that the chatbot is telling me that it stands for. So while I am certainly very much pro AI in the sense of what we do with our students and in the classroom, I would just encourage that we exercise some caution in the Office of General Counsel with the AI, because I've seen it gone sideways on many accounts. I just got done reading an opinion from a Superior Court in New York in which a lawyer was admonished for using AI and stating some things in a legal brief that apparently was the opposite of what the case law said it was. So that was just my 2 cents on the AI stuff. Thank you, Chair.
So thank you, Mr. Cervera, for that. Just to be very, very clear, I'm very familiar with the cases that you've discussed, and it is our obligation in the legal department to double check, triple check, and ensure that everything that is being cited from a legal standpoint is accurate. The AI feature that we will be using is specifically through Westlaw, and we're going to use that because that is that platform, and it only uses Westlaw material. So it's not like ChatGPT that can make up stuff because they are just trying to please us to try to find a case. So I just want to make sure that was clear.
Any other board discussion? All in favor of item 1, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no.
Aye. Aye.
Item passes unanimously with Ms. Hickson and Mrs. Alhadeff on the line.
And Ms. Rupert.
And Ms. Rupert.
Yeah, Miss Aladeff isn't on
she's not on the
here
line.
anymore.
Oh, Mrs. Alhadeff is not on the line. So it's with Ms. Hickson and Ms. Rupert on the line. At this time, do any of my colleagues have student successes to share?
Chair, we've exhausted the agenda for this
Correct.
meeting. May I just have the floor for a moment, please?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'd be very interested, Mr. Superintendent, in asking you to take some time, but to come back and provide us a formal report on our hiring practices in Broward County. And in particular, with any steps that you think we should be taking to ensure that when this board approves hires, which we do, but we have no role in the selection of anybody that works for you or for our general counsel or for our chief auditor, that the process that was used for them violates no law and is solely based on the merits of the individuals that are applying for the job. There is a lot of liabilities that this board carries around, but one that is extraordinarily large is if there is any actions that are taken from people who feel like they didn't get it done the right way. I, as a board member, would like to feel confident that everybody that participates in the hiring process is willing to say that they violated no laws in the process and that they chose people based on merit solely, so that we can make sure that we're doing the most important job that we have, which is to build a school district that serves our community and serves our students. And I would just like to open that up for a little conversation. Then I could just, at the end, if you don't mind, Chair, make a motion to ask Mr. Superintendent maybe in 3 months or so if we can get a report like that back. Is that a reasonable amount of time?
Well, I have a question to Ms. Dupree-Bruno. Can we make motions if there's no item on the floor?
So based on your policy and my understanding of your practices, you have done it that way. From a legal standpoint, there's no reason why a motion can't be made, but you guys have policies and practices that basically have limited your ability to move forward unless it's an agenda item. The board has full authority to request the superintendent to look into different matters.
Dr. Holness?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am very, and thank you, Dr. Zeman. I think that's a great suggestion. I am very supportive of that. You know, I think it's important that when we hire individuals at any level, that the process is objective, that there are not any subjective layers in the entire process. So I think what Dr. Zeman is asking, directing the superintendent, is to look into our hiring practices to make sure they're objective, to make sure that it results in choosing the best qualified person. as opposed to any other reasons. And I've heard different stories of individuals who may have had concerns that the process was not as objective as it should be. I think it warrants us to look at it, and if it's not, to improve the process. But at the very least, I think it makes sense that we are taking a second look at hiring practices to make sure, Dr. Hepburn, that we are getting the most qualified individuals in this county for the positions that we're looking for. So I am supportive of Dr. Zeman's suggestion. At the very least, Dr. Hepburn may come back and said, well, I looked at it and I don't see any issues, or I look at it and there are areas that we can improve to make sure that we're being completely objective in the process. So yes, I'm supportive.
Ms. Hickson? Oh, sorry, Ms. Thompson, you were up next.
I just have a question about the process, because I brought an issue to the end of the last meeting and was told that I couldn't make a motion to direct the superintendent because there wasn't an item on the floor. And I recognize that change of leadership, but it's incredibly frustrating if it's allowable for one board member, not talking on the merit of what you're doing, but not for another one. So are we as a board going to allow this and then that's fine, or do we have to submit items with backup information and planning, etc.? That is what I would like an answer to, because I'm incredibly frustrated, because I then went home over spring break to work on an item because I was told that's the process.
Ms. Dupree-Bruno?
So your board policy 1020 does talk about the board members being able to move forward with agenda items. My interpretation, law indicates that the board has the ability to move forward with directing any of its direct reports. That's your obligation, that's your right to do so. You have a policy that talks about agenda items and board bringing them forward. However, Robert's rules also says, for the good of the order, a board may bring any item forward as well. So I'm stepping in here, on day 7. So I need some clarification from the board. I've spoken to some board members that have told me that sometimes we do this, sometimes we don't. So I also will need some clarification as to what is the desire of the board and moving forward. And does that policy need to reflect that desire? And do you also need some procedural protocol for the board to be able to follow? So I need some direction from the board as to how you want to proceed with that.
Does anyone want to speak to that? Dr. Zeman?
Florida statutes are very clear. There's 23 things that are the sole responsibility of school board members. And in the pecking order of laws, state law supersedes district policies. And so while our policy says that we may bring items, and it gives us some categories and things like that, all consistent with state statutes, there's still state statute that says these are the 23 things that only a school board member could do. I would view it as a violation of state statutes if a school board member couldn't do those things. Like, we cannot write policy that undoes law. And the law says there's 23 things we can do. We set policies, we pass budgets, we approve attendance records. There's 23 things that we do. We need to be able to do those. This is the only time we can do them. In a workshop, we're not allowed to bring actions. We're only allowed to talk, and without objection, we kind of get some things moving forward, but we don't take formal action in it, and we can in a school board meeting. So I think the previous decisions have been inconsistent with state law, and now we're just moving back in state law. Second point is that this is what other school boards in Florida do all the time. They have meetings, and at the end of the meeting, they have an open period, and they talk about things that they need to get done. This particular issue could be an item. I'd be perfectly happy if not perfectly happy because it wouldn't be consistent with state law, but if we end up, that we only want to do these things with bringing formal items, I think that would tie the hands of school board members in a way that makes no sense and not as consistent with the law. This particular item is not one that would take like a lot of backup material, is asking the superintendent to bring some data and to think about whether or not we're following the other laws in Florida about discriminating in hiring practices, and whether or not his staff can think about ways to guarantee to this board that, in fact, the process has been followed as legal and based on merit for selection, also codified in state and federal law. So there's nothing in this that is particularly spectacular that I would think needs a lot of backup material. We're just asking for some data and to make sure that what we're doing is following the law. But the bigger issue is that state statute says that we're responsible for doing these things. I don't think policy can restrict us from doing those things that the law requires us to do.
Ms. Dupree-Bruno, let me ask you this. If at the end of a school board meeting I wanted to, and there was no item on the agenda, I wanted to make a motion to fire the superintendent, could I do that?
So based on my experience, my prior experience, which is a little different than Broward County, but different policies, yes, because during good of the order, a board member can bring forward a motion. That's normally how it has been done from the districts that I have worked with and those that I have also had the pleasure of getting counsel from. However, you can restrict as a board however you want to restrict yourself through policy. It's not a legal issue. This is more of a, how does the board want to operate? One of the things, I'll just give you an example, motions in Lee County is not through policy, but it's through our board protocol manual. The board member who's trying to bring forward a motion doesn't bring an agenda item, but will, as a courtesy, advise their colleagues, I'm bringing this motion forward within 24 hours, and our policy, the protocol manual will also say, please speak to the board attorney to make sure we got all the language right, and that's how we normally will do it within 24 hours of the meeting. But again, this board has, this is how you speak. How do you want to comport yourself? How do you want to address these things? One concern that I would have is there may be an emergency situation that needs to be addressed, and you don't have time to do a formal agenda item, or you're in the middle of a conversation and something is triggered where you feel like we need to have some attention. So again, it's the board that needs to decide how it wants to move forward. But however, to Ms. Thompson's point, however you move forward, it needs to be consistent every single time, so there's no deviation. Consistency is very important. So if it's been the practice not to have these types of motions unless there is an agenda item, then I suggest we do that. And if the board wants to review its practice, then we can certainly do that as well, and I can provide any guidance that you may require.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that insight, Ms. Bruno. I think my concern, and I was equally frustrated last week when I was told I had to bring an item. However, I think for public insight, it's important that it's an agenda item, because if it were I don't want to put that in the air. If it's something big that we think that a lot of people will be interested in communicating about, and then we just slip it in at the end. Like, imagine if we tried to close schools at just the end of the meeting. Like, that would be unforgivable. And while the majority of our items are not like that, like, I don't think anyone will have a lot to say other than it's a great idea to review hiring practices. But for consistency's sake, I think it is important that we choose the way we are governed and then we live by that. So if it's that we can do this, I think that's problematic because of public input. But I do see that it speeds things up. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that I think we are a public serving board, and if we are allowed to just introduce motions at the end of it, that could cut out a lot of public speaking. Thank you.
Ms. Hickson?
Thank you. And I kind of follow along the same lines as Ms. Thompson. There have been times in the past where things have come up that weren't really appropriate in terms of there was no public comment because no one knew it was coming forward to us. So we do have a policy, and as policy makers, I would hope that we follow our policy, whether it's more stringent than the law or not. That's on us. If we want to change the policy, then my suggestion is to have the policy come back where we could have a discussion about, do we want to make that more lax, or do we want to keep it so that it's a true conversation about it? But as a person who makes policy, I would hate for us to be the ones that say, oh, well, our policy doesn't matter. And that's kind of what it's sounding like here. So if we want to change it, I would maybe ask the superintendent if he could bring this back to a workshop at some point, and we could have a discussion and see how many people do want to change it, because we should always be following our own policy. Thank you.
Mr. Severa?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I am in support of what Dr. Zeman is proposing in regards to the hiring practices. Overall, I do see a tremendous benefit in allowing myself and my colleagues to potentially bring things like this at the end of a meeting in order to be efficient, in order to be able to better address the business of this county and this board. To address Ms. Thompson's concerns, I certainly hear you, and I could see how that would be problematic if, for sake of argument, something quote-unquote big was slipped in at the end of the meeting. But I think from a realistic standpoint, anything that's big or major, if someone tries to slip that in, I don't think they're going to get enough support to have that pass anyway, especially something as drastic as a school closure. Obviously, we see the need in the public participation and all of that, and to be transparent in what we're doing. The reality is this is a fast-moving business that we're in. Things happen. Sometimes it's not within the 7 days prior to an agenda being released, in which we have to seek good cause from the chair and all of those things in order to have an agenda item added to an agenda that's been published for a certain amount of time. So I would be in favor of this. Obviously, some of the more drastic things, like again the school closures, certainly I would urge my colleagues to exhibit restraint and not try to do anything like that. Don't think you'd have the support anyway, but certainly the major things that would require public comment and having the ability for our folks to come in, our members of the community to come in and speak to us, certainly shouldn't be slipped in at the end of an agenda. But I think what Dr. Zeman here is trying to do is a good example of something that should be permissible. On this policy versus state law situation, policy is great. The fact that we are governed as a school board and as a district by a set of policies, I think is my mic go off? Hello? Oh, sorry about that. I think that's a good thing. However, we have to appreciate that the state law in this state is the law of the land, not our policy. And if we're doing anything in policy that is restricting state statute or preventing us from exercising a duty under state statute, that policy needs to change, because we follow the law first and then we follow policy. And if there's a conflict, I'm sure you would agree with me, Madam General Counsel, that the state law is going to trump that. So while I am a fan of the concept of policy and what we do here in the district, we must also appreciate and understand that the state law would certainly trump any conflicts we have with that. Going back to my colleague, Ms. Thompson, in light of what you've heard today, perhaps you want to rebring your item from the last week, if you think that would be appropriate, or if you wanted to wait, because I assume that you've drafted up an agenda item during spring break, and I'm sure it's fantastic, and I can't wait to read it. But certainly I don't want you to feel discouraged about your ability to bring motions at the end of a regular school board meeting in light of what we've learned today. Thank you.
Ms. Dupree-Bruno?
So I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear. The question that was asked is whether or not I can direct Dr. Hepburn to look into our employment practices and come back to us. That was the ask. So your board policy 1020 subsection 2B subsection 2C specifically says that no official action is taken. No official action is taken during school board workshops. School board members may make reasonable requests for their direct reports that are limited in scope without bringing them an item to a formal meeting. That's what your policy currently says. So when you're directing your direct report, that's one thing. School closures is something different, because then your policy also then talks about what kind of items that the board can bring forward. Now, the question that I was asked is whether or not I can bring forward a motion to fire the superintendent. That's a whole nother type of issue, right? Because that is something that affects your direct report, and there may be some, very interesting things that are going on at that time where a decision must be made. So those are different buckets. One, directing my direct report to do something, so long as it's limited, that's within your policy. It says you can bring it up at a workshop. You can it doesn't require an action if it's limited in scope. Then you have situations where they're very explicit in your policy in terms of what needs to be brought forward in an agenda item. And then you have emotions based on circumstances that need to be addressed quickly. That's how I have compartmentalized those.
Hold on, I'm confused, because I want to make sure I have a full understanding of what your professional legal opinion is and what's actually before the questions that are posed, because I know we're getting kind of a bunch of different questions. Dr. Zeman's ask was to give a directive to the superintendent. Okay. The chair then asked if it would be appropriate at the end of a regular school board meeting to make a motion to do something. And her obviously bombastic example was to fire Hepburn, right?
Could I offer some clarification? Dr. Zeman made a motion, or tried to make a motion. So those two things, that's why I asked about the motion piece.
Okay. So in your answer, which I believe was in the affirmative, can a school board member make a motion at the end of a school board meeting to address issues from firing the superintendent to giving the superintendent directives to, on the one extreme, to use Ms. Thompson's example of closing X school? Is all of this appropriate at the end, at the, what I generally have come to learn is the goodwill hour, sort of when we're done at the end of the meeting, just say, I want to make a motion, let's close 10 schools.
Right. So good of the order, per Robert's rules, is a time that these types of things, not necessarily closing schools or anything specific, but when there's something that affects the body during good of the order, per Robert's rules, you are allowed to make motions. You have some limitations in terms of agenda items and how the board has to process agenda items. So the depending on what the board wants to do, this is a board decision on how it wants to move forward, you can do that.
Let me go at this from a different angle, because I think this is important. Can a school board member, myself and my 8 colleagues, do we have the ability at the end of a meeting to make a motion for whatever we want? Do we have that ability under state law? I'm not concerned about our policy, and I'm not concerned about Robert's rules. Under state law, Florida statutes, am I allowed to make a motion to paint the building pink if I wanted to?
So long as you are, so the answer is yes, so long as it is tied to 1001.41, 42, and 43, which is your school board responsibilities.
Okay, so any responsibility or duty that I have as a sitting board member, I can make a motion for.
Yes, and you told me don't look at the policy, don't look at Robert's rules, just base it on statute. That's the answer based on statute.
Okay, so we know that I have that ability under the statute. Are you telling me now, Mr. Bruno, that there is a policy in place that is affecting my ability to follow state law?
I wouldn't say it's a policy that's affecting your ability to follow state law. I think it's a policy that requires you to bring an agenda item for certain topics that you want to bring forward. If you want to talk about rezoning, if you want to talk about different things, it's outlined in this policy. I don't see the policy as limiting you from bringing a motion, but I do understand that's been your practice, and it's my understanding from speaking to individuals that it's wavered and gone back and forth depending on the time.
Okay, let's use a real world example. You said in the policy, if I want to talk about rezoning any of my schools in District 6, right? I would have to bring an agenda item and follow the procedure about the advanced amount of days to put that on there, right? Now, we can agree that rezoning would be considered the business of a school board member under the statute, the state statute, right?
Right.
Okay. So there is effectively a portion of the policy that is restricting me from bringing up an issue that I am obligated to have as a part of my governance as a school board member.
I'm not saying that it's restricting you. I don't see it as restricting you. I see it as giving guidance on how the board is supposed to comport themselves.
But I can't do it.
Yes, you can. You can do it by bringing forward your agenda item.
But that's making it more restrictive than what the statute is.
But the board voted on this policy and decided to make it more restrictive.
And that's fantastic, but isn't that contrary to what the case law says about state law versus policy?
Well, it depends. The board can restrict itself any way that it wants to. State law is state law. You want to bring a motion forward, you can bring a motion forward, but your agenda item specifically says that these are certain things that you can bring forward as an example as to what must be submitted in your agenda item.
Okay, so is it your opinion then that our policy can restrict a board member's right to bring something as long as it doesn't take it away completely?
So long as it's in compliance with law, the policy, you can restrict how you do something. You can have a unified way of how you do something, and that's kind of what this policy is saying. It's not necessarily restricting you from bringing an item forward.
But it's making it more difficult, yes?
Yeah, you have to go on agenda item
And that's permissible.
based on what you voted for.
Well, I'm not talking about the policy, which may or may not be violative of state law. I'm asking you in a legal context what the case law supports. If I have a state law that says I can run around and do jumping jacks whenever I want, right? I have the free will to run around and do jumping jacks. And then I come to the district and it says, we have a policy, Cervera, and if you want to do jumping jacks, you have to give everybody a week's notice before you do your jumping jacks. So you've now restricted my ability to do jumping jacks whenever I want, right? Is that still permissive?
If the board decided to do that, yes, because the board speaks and the board creates its policies and give direction as a body, not individually as Cervera, but as an individual, as a board, as a collective.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Ms. Pullman?
Sorry, this really got off the rails from whatever I was going to say earlier. I agree with what Ms. Thompson said earlier about having public comment, and I think Ms. Hickson also said that. I support that. I don't think we're restricting anybody's right to, or the use of the statute. And I do like bringing the item because then there's a little bit more time to vet it and think it through. And I think there's some, like for this particular motion, I think there's some things that we need to be thinking about that could have repercussions based on timing and things of that nature that, I don't know that we're really at liberty to discuss right now, but that would be discussed when you're bringing an item. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Could I make a comment? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Holness.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just have a question about, I understand that Dr. Zeman wants to bring a motion. Can't he simply just, as a board member at the end of a meeting, ask or direct the superintendent to come back with information as opposed to making a motion, and if there's no objection, it goes through?
Yes.
So if it's limited in scope, Ms. Bruno, as the policy says, which the board can, in the moment, determine if that's limited, if what he's asking is limited in scope, and he can simply direct the superintendent to come back with suggestions on improving hiring practices. If the board deems that to be limited in scope, as our policy says, why do we need a motion?
We don't.
So why are we having this conversation?
Because I asked, when Dr. Zeman made the motion, I asked Mr.
Right,
Bruno.
right. So he can simply get what he needs done by just directing the superintendent, and if there's any objection, then one of us can object. If there's no objection, then it goes forward. Right?
Right.
So don't make a motion.
Just two quick questions, and then I'll go to Ms. Hickson. Is, Ms. Dupree-Bruneau, is policy 1020 violative of state law?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to be on the record because that claim was made. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hickson. Sorry, that I just had that one. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Dupree-Bruneau.
And just one more clarification to what Dr. Holness said. If it's going to require significant staff time, then your policy says it requires a motion, just to be clear.
Correct. But I'm so sorry,
go
Madam
ahead.
Chair. So, but in the process of the ask or the direction, can't the board determine and the staff can respond whether or not this will require a significant amount of time and this is right? And the board can determine if there's any objection, right?
That would be the superintendent to be able to say whether or not it's going to take, it's his judgment as to how much time it's going to take and whether or not, it's going to be significant. That's his judgment.
Right. So we would rely on his feedback from any direction from any of us.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Hickson?
Thank you. And I was actually going to point that out. We often give the superintendent direction with a date for bringing something back, and he either says, yes, that will work, or I need more time. So I think that makes sense. But I will reiterate, based on the conversation, I think it would be important to bring the policy back and decide, because I think it's a very bad look for us as board members to be saying we shouldn't be following our policy. I mean, that's the whole purpose that we exist, is to make policy. So why would we expect anyone else to follow it if we're saying we don't need to follow our own policy, whether it's more restrictive than state law or not? So if there's an issue with what the policy says or what the policy guides us to do, then it behooves us to bring that back and have a discussion and change it if necessary. But to sit on the dais and tell people that we don't have to follow our policy, I think is embarrassing. So I would ask the superintendent, and if everyone agrees that they want to look at the policy and see if there needs to be changes, to bring that back. But I, for one, do absolutely not agree with saying to the public, we as a board are not going to follow our own policy. And I have something else for good of the order when you get to that part.
Yeah, I've got you on the list. Ms. Thompson?
So if I'm understanding correctly, the interpretation of our policy is that this would be admissible, or it falls in line with our policy, because as long as it's not a motion, he is directing the superintendent to look into something, and as long as it doesn't require a significant amount of man hours, then it is permissible to be directed like this. So I don't think revisiting the policy, if that's how we want to go forward, we need to bring a policy back at this point. I think there's some, people can interpret the amount of work in different ways. And something I might recommend that I think will be quicker might not actually be quicker. I think there's some gray area in this, but I would like to move forward since we're already behind. But I just wanted to state for the record, I think we are following the policy. I just think there's some gray area in it.
Ms. Dupree-Bruneau, do you have your guidance?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Back to, does anyone else want to comment on Dr. Zeman's proposal? Ms. Bowman, I had you, and then I had Mrs. Alhadeff on the list. On Dr. Zeman's request for information. Mrs. Alhadeff? All right, student successes, Ms. Hickson.
Thank you. I just wanted to make mention that on Wednesday, this Wednesday, March 25th at 6:30, there's going to be Mascot Mania, which is a competition between the Broward County school mascots to see who has the best mascot in the county. It will be held at South Plantation High School, and I believe it's $5 to get in. But I just wanted to give a shout out to that and say to my colleagues, if you're available, I hope you'll try to go see and join in the fun. And with that, I'm heading in person, so I won't be available for a couple of minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman.
Thanks, Chair. I had the pleasure of attending the Swim for Nick open water ocean swim event that was honoring Nick Dworet, who we lost in the MSD tragedy. It was an awesome event, and I just wanted to give a couple shout outs. We had Ariella Brody, who's a senior at South Broward High School, who got third place for the women and 10th overall for the 1.2 mile swim. Charlie Rainwater, who's a freshman, who got second in his age group for the 2.4 mile swim. My son Rowan Bowman got second in his age group for 500 meters, and our own fellow board member Debbie Hickson made her open water debut with the 500, and she also won in her age group. So very impressive, very awesome event, well presented. And my husband did it too, 1.2. Thanks.
Congratulations. Mr. Cervera?
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations to Nob Hill Elementary School in the great city of Sunrise and Principal Porter. They were named a silver winner by the South Florida Sun Sentinel for Best Elementary School. So big kudos to the Nuggets and congratulations on the Sun Sentinel Award.
Dr. Zeman?
Thank you much, Chair. Tomorrow morning, one of my elementary schools, Dillard Elementary School, is having a career day. And the reason it's worth kind of bringing up and taking up some time on this is that there is a tremendous number of companies coming. There's over 250 people and 100 companies coming to Dillard Elementary School tomorrow. There are vascular surgeons, there's fire officials, there's police folks, the superintendent, I understand, is coming, as well as some others. I'll be there. All arranged by a group that has been working for 11 years between North Fork Elementary School and Dillard Elementary School to do good things, including funding their after-school program, making sure all the children have everything that they need to participate. So tomorrow morning's career fair at Dillard Elementary School starts at 7:45. I encourage anybody that's got free time tomorrow morning that would like to come to join the superintendent and I and the team that has put together that amazing event tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The scheduled order of business for the special school board meeting of the School Board of Broward County, Florida has been completed. I will now adjourn the special school board meeting.